really excited about this conversation today with Stephen Soulman Martin, who is a parish priest in the St. Stephen Stratford, and he is the diocesan missioner in the Diocese of Huron, and he is a biker priest, and has a lot to tell us today about about mission and ministry. And we're really excited about this conversation. So we're just waiting as people hop on. And as always, we encourage your conversation. We encourage your questions, your comments. And there's Astrid's here. Good afternoon, Astrid. Nice to see you. And anything that strikes you about our conversation, feel free to throw that in the conversation. And we'll include that. And we just love hearing from you. Hey, and Leslie Gerlos is here. Hi, Leslie. How are you? Leslie was on last week. Did a fabulous job. I hope you recovered. You guys were great last week. And so people are coming. We've already got some comments coming in.
Great.
So my name is Neil Mancor. I am the, I always have to kind of pause to remember that, Congregational Development Coordinator for the Diocese of Montreal. And below me is my colleague,
Lisa Vaughn, the Parish Vitality Coordinator for the Diocese of Nova Scotia and Prince Edward Island. And this is Pew and Beyond. It's an initiative of the Spiritual Formation for Discipleship Network of the Anglican Church of Canada. And we are diving deep, as we always do, in discipleship. And as Neil said earlier, we are delighted that the soul man, Stephen Martin, is with us, biker, priest to bikers. It's great to have you here. Where are you living right now, Steve?
I'm in the wonderful location of Stratford, Ontario. The great art forum, and hard to believe I'm actually living here.
Great area. Diocese of Huron, right?
That's right, Diocese of Huron, and yeah, it's a nice little piece of country, out here in southwestern Ontario. We can do a bit of I call rural and urban ministry all together, because you get a bit of both happening. So it's kind of fun,
And you're on the road a lot. Can you tell us something about that?
Yeah, as the missionaire, my work has been sort of to build up communities. Was originally the idea was to sort of, how do we bring people back into some kind of connectionness with faith and spirituality. And so I have an orange Ford Explorer that we sort of juiced up a bit, and that becomes my my chariot for ministry. And I literally just drive it from town to town around the area, and just hang out most times in what I call St. Timothy of Horton's parking lot, and just open up the tailgate, put the table out and some chairs, and we just congregate and start the conversations. It really is about really meeting people where they are, and where we take the church to them, church on the street. It literally means that, church on the street. It's living out your faith in the communities. You never know what your day is going to be like. It could be a slow day. It could be a busy day. You never know in how that approaches. So it's hit and miss. And yeah, but it's great just to find out where people are at. And some of the conversations can be about weather, politics. About 95% time when we do talk about spirituality, they brought it up, not me. And people are actually hungry to hear, to start talking about, what does spirituality mean? What does faith mean? What does all that kind of stuff is? They know it, but they know it sort of in a box format of organized church religion. And to be able to say to people, you can have a faith, you have a belief in Jesus, you can have a walk. Doesn't really mean you always have to go to church, where you get pushed out. And try to find those connections so you can actually build community hubs within those communities.
So church outside for sure. I like what you're saying, Stephen. I think sometimes there's an assumption that people who aren't deeply connected to a faith community don't really care about faith issues. But it's, they're thinking about those things, and they're asking questions and that kind of thing.
Yeah, and the hard part is like most people who want to ask the questions, that's what I get. The churches are locked up, like Fort Knox. The only time they get to church is Sunday morning. Most of my friends aren't even up at that hour in the morning yet. And B, when they walk in, they don't fit in, you know. And so they really have a hard time to approach, areas of churches and worshiping space, walk in and have this conversation because am I going to look stupid for asking these questions? Am I going to be talked down to because I don't believe exactly what we believe in, but where can we find the middle road? And see, they've been damaged by the church. And so, but being out there, when you meet them in their own communities, in their own areas, they feel safe because I'm on their turf, not on mine.
Right. Right.
That's
and
really
so they
cool,
feel safe. So they feel safer to speak their mind openly.
Just want to welcome Gail and Robin who are here with us. As I said, anyone hopping on, welcome to Pew and Beyond. And our guest today is Stephen Soulman Martin, and he's talking to us about his ministry. You talk about it as a ministry of opportunity. I like that. You're on their territory, not the other way around.
Yeah, and I think that's what we got to realize sometimes that when we have a church situation or the typical church, for the minister, that's their space, that's the congregation at home, right? And so when people come in, they got to fit that role. We're outside. It's when you're up beyond their walls. You literally on their turf. They can tell you exactly where to go, and they do. In some cases, I've been told F off many times, and because a few other sort of choice words on my occasion. You got to accept that, And the thing is, most people hear those words and I'm out of here. I'm not coming back to this place. Stomp your souls up the edge of town. I just keep on going back, for more, and eventually they keep on saying, "Why do you keep on coming back to this?" Because you guys matter. You guys matter to me. You guys are as important to the kingdom than my folks in my church are. And so to be able to have that conversation and take all the stuff they give, but yet where they feel safe to say it. And a lot of times they're just trying to test me where if I'm gonna come back or not.
Right. So you have to have pretty thick skin then?
It helps. It helps and have a good sense of humor, and I give as much as I can take, and they know it. My guys have actually heard me go off a few times, and with their right intent. I get to have my Jesus moment, toss the tables on occasion when I get fed up with something. But it's real. As real as it gets. It's no, you know exactly what they're thinking. Where sometimes when in congregational ministry, it freaks me out because people can be mad at me, but I get the smiles, and no conversation. In the ministry part of it, they say exactly how they feel, and there is no guesswork. If they think you're giving them a lot of crap, they're going to call BS. If they're genuine, you're genuine. And I like that because I think it's more honest and more raw.
Yeah.
When you get in those areas, it's tougher to get into, but once you start breaking down those walls and showing them that, nothing you're gonna say is gonna tick me off today, and they start seeing that commitment. You get beyond all the negativity, you can actually start seeing where that's coming from. And a lot of times that you start unpacking their own pain, and doing pastoral care. Without even knowing it, you're doing pastoral care. They have no idea they're doing pastoral care.
Right.
Just want to welcome Primate Linda is here, your former bishop, and welcome Archbishop Linda. We're really thrilled you could be here. So, you're on. You're really on. And also my good friend Isabel Healy-Morrow from Kamloops, BC, Territory of the People is here. So welcome to you all. As always, your comments and questions and thoughts are really welcome. Throw them in the comment section. We'd love to have a conversation with you. Of course, it was Primate Linda who kind of launched you into this diocesan missionary role. Is that correct?
That's absolutely correct.
I
When
know
she
there's a
was the
picture of
bishop
you two
here
on
in
a
Huron,
motorbike. Yeah.
yeah, that all came. It was actually one of my colleagues here in Huron asked if I should suggest it, that it'd be really kind of cool to challenge me to take the bishop for a motorcycle ride at the time, when she was the bishop here. And they actually get a T-shirt made up, and I said to the bishop, when next morning, is like, Bishop, I was challenged with something, and the deal is that they was going to do is the challenge was they get you in the back of a motorcycle with a T-shirt on the back that said, "If you read my shirt, my bishop fell off," which in a biker conversation has a different term to that.
Right.
And she was agreeable to it. Linda was agreeable to it, and but Linda was really supportive of me coming here to the Diocese of Huron, welcoming me here, taking an unknown entity that she really didn't really know too much of, and allowing me the chance to hunker down, do what I do best. And so when we lost her as our bishop and the national church got her as a primate, it was lost to us. But I think overall, it was a gift to the national church having our primate going your way.
Indeed, yes.
Mm.
So
as you're driving around,
primate, bishop, this is on you. So there you go.
Can you just dig a bit more into what are people talking about? I'd like to hear more. I think we all need to know that. What are people saying, asking, thinking? What do they want to know?
Yeah, and who are these people?
Yeah.
Well, everybody thinks that I'm just strictly into a motorcycle guy working with a bunch of bikers, and it's beyond that now. I have a crew of 20 people I'm working with right now in the different communities. So I have everybody from nurses still practicing in Northern Territories. I have biker types, truckers, ex-sex trade workers, business folks, lawyers, all working with me right now in their own typical ministry. And most of the conversations that people are having is really is like, where's God in all this? Where how can you be a minister in this day of an age and have your beliefs in this day and age with science and everything else and still be able to come out here and do what you do? And they're also hungry for real spirit, for real truth, gospel truth. The fact that we can actually talk about who is this Jesus character? What was so important about and start talking about his ministry, because what they all hear is what they see on TV, or what they're growing up with in the church. They actually take the gospel back out and start showing people what Jesus was really doing. He was really turning his culture in his own religion upside down and saying, we need to get back to our community. We need to build community. We need to be together to be kingdom builders in all this. And you're important to him as much as people in my church are. That you're valued in the eyes of God. You're valued in the eyes of Jesus. You're the kind of people that Jesus wants. We sort of get hung up a lot of times on the people who can do this work are clean cut people coming out of seminary. But you take a look at who Jesus picked as disciples, were a bunch of ragtags, mismatch and all over the map on their backgrounds and who they were. Take a couple of fishermen off the dock. I don't care if it's 2,000 years ago or today. These guys are hard hitters. They're going to speak their mind. They're tough guys. They're tough men. Matthew, the tax collector. Who saw that one coming? And the list goes on who Jesus picked to be his inner crew are no different than people who I'm picking out. People who understand the community better than I do.
Yeah.
People who can talk that language. People who can understand that culture. And they can take that message even further than I can ever imagine.
Right.
Leslie Gerloff just asked, is this ministry more itinerant, moving the Orange Ministry mobile from place to place, or do you just tend to set up and camp in one place at Tim Hortons?
Good question.
It's very itinerant. On a course of a good travel month, I can put up between 5,000 to 6,000 kilometers on my vehicle. Right, traveling from town to town. And there are certain ones I do hit more often than others. We have a base of operation, a hub, and now I got more hubs now to deal with. So I have a group of people in one area, and that's where we gather. And it becomes its own little community. So especially the biker circles, they got chapters and they got clubs and they got everything else going on. So I can actually go right where they gather, as a hub. Or I go down into other places where my friends in the sex trade are, who are doing work, and that's a hub. So I come, they make the phone calls like, Steve's coming down. Let's get together. Let's get a bunch of people together and have a coffee and let's go out and talk. And so it's even inside the biker community, when I'm coming into an area, I phone them up and say I'm coming up. They put the phone calls out. Soulman's coming in, and next thing I know, I'm just going up to have a coffee and hang out with them. Next thing I know, I got people dropping in for some impromptu, ministry time. So that's the way it works now. They're actually bringing people into their areas. So when I come in, my hands are full today.
Wow.
Like last year, I was actually called up to one of my friends' places. They have a biker clubhouse, and they asked me if I could do a wedding up there last year, and I said, okay, no problem. And about 2 weeks before the wedding was about to happen, the woman who actually owns the place, could you baptize me when you're up here? And so we used we got everything cleaned up, and we used the bar as an altar. And they got everything cleared up, and they cleaned up, and we had a little, I had a pottery bowl used for a baptismal font, and did the baptism first, and an hour later we all got it all cleaned up, and we did the wedding.
Wow.
Fantastic.
Old itinerant style. The minister's coming, Soulman's coming in. Let's take care of all the business we got to take care of today.
Just want to say hi to Alice Hadlock, who's here as well. And Gail Termill says, wow, what a super ministry. And there's lots of pictures of your truck with a communion table attached to the trailer hitch.
Mm-hmm.
So what is what does this service look like? A worship service, a liturgy, whatever you want to call it.
Sometimes it's more off the cuff because I never know what's going to happen next. I don't go out with an agenda. So sometimes I might be out traveling. Next thing I might be out, can you pray for me? Do you have any oil that you can bless me? In the other places you go to, it's like, I haven't had, even some people who are traveling. I was in a park last year, a little rest stop area. There's a bunch of people who are doing long haul camping, and they pulled in, asked me all it was about, and been on the road for a couple of weeks. Can you do communion? So I popped all my stuff out, set it up, and we had communion service on the back of the truck.
Oh, that is cool.
Fantastic.
It's ministry of opportunity.
This is the word. Yeah.
Just keep all the stuff in there at all times, Rick. You never know what you're going to be using next. To be able to take out whatever tools I need. And so, like when I'm sitting a lot of times, I'll just open the tailgate up, put the table together. That's also my coffee table. And my altar and everything else I want to use as it for. Set the chairs up, open the tailgate, throw some music on, and just hang out. And people just come over and, what's Church on the Street about? They read the tract, it's different. What's Church on the Street? Well, is it Liberty Way? It is Church on the Street. Where is it? Right here. You're standing in the front pew. So.
Wow.
So do people sort of know, like when they see that orange truck coming on into town, that Soulman is here?
Everybody knows that truck, around. I can have it. I got parked. I parked it at a friend's place a couple years ago, get some work done to it, and other friends of mine from other communities would run. Is that where you live? No, that's just where my mechanic lives. Or they'll see it somewhere else, sitting for a while. Like we saw it down at the train station and down in Stratford. Yeah, actually, I took a train into Toronto. You know, so they know my even the police know my truck. So it's well known in the community.
Yeah, that's great.
Astrid asks a question. She goes, so where does that leave us who are the conservative or traditional church, I'd say, going seniors? How do we reach out and connect with people who don't usually come to us? We are not able to drive orange trucks. Well, I think you could drive an orange truck, Astrid.
Well,
but I know what you're saying.
I think not everybody has to do what I do. You know, it's opening up, it's just even getting outside your church doors, you know, like here at St. Stephen's, told the ministry that in the summertime, I set my office on the front lawn of the church. So on Friday afternoons, you'll see my office set up and my computer and stuff on the front lawn of the church. I have a little tent that goes up coffee in case it rains, and got my coffee, my water, and chairs all set up, and that's my whole office. You know, and you're right in front of the community, so people are walking in the street that you're outside the church, you're present. I can do other work in my office just as well, but nobody's going to see me in here, you know. But at least on the front lawn, people just come back, what are you doing? You know, or you see, or they're walking their dog. Hey, how are you doing? Nice dog, you know. Walking out to pick up the mail. Hope that's more happy stuff than bills, you know. Or coming to you're there in the community front and center. You know, you're sitting there engaging. So I use that orange truck when we were locked down in the last lockdown we had here in Ontario. From Easter until the 1st of July, I parked the orange truck in front of the church here at St. Stephen's, opened the tailgate, and played gospel music every Sunday morning. So just hanging out.
Right. Being present.
Just being present. So you don't have to go to the distance I do, but even just getting out, you know, taking some stuff that you usually do in the church out to the lawn, you know, just sitting.
Yeah.
You're present. You know, you're praying for the community as they walk by quietly. But people can see there's somebody outside, not because usually we come inside the doors, we lock the doors behind us, we walk down to our office, we go do whatever we do in our office. They see the cars come, they see the cars go, but they see no minister.
Right. Right.
So part of that is sort of saying, you know, we need to take some of that stuff outside. You know, we had some of our vestry meetings, but our parish council meetings outside. We had other meetings outside all summer long. We had outdoor worship because people felt safer out there.
Right.
So people around our church are watching us take that next step and taking it from outside, inside the walls to outside the walls, hearing worship happening, seeing it happen. You know, when the minister's at, and I'm dressed not my usual robes and stuff, but in a pair of khakis and Hawaiian shirt and with the collar underneath.
Yeah.
Preaching the gospel in the front lawn as people walk by with their dogs.
Yeah. Just as you were talking, Stephen, I was thinking about what you said about for safety. I mean, obviously with COVID, it was safer to be outside, but I think the ministry that you offer folks, whether it's, you know, outside in the lawn of your church or outside Tim Hortons or a clubhouse or at one of the biker rallies or something, you're offering people a safe place to talk, to be themselves, an environment that is comfortable for them, where I think for some people walking through church doors is incredibly difficult and fearful and not an environment they're used to, especially all the rows and stained glass and the holy hardware and singing songs they don't know. But you know, this guy with this cool truck and outside Tim Hortons, that sounds a lot easier.
Yeah, and how you get if people, it picks up people's attention. Last year I was getting ready for a wedding, and wedding was in London, so I stopped off and I grabbed some stuff I needed, and I'm in a black cassock, you know, mine's made of hemp, so it's very big and bulky. And I'm driving this orange truck. I jump out of it, black cassock and all, with the white collar, very old style, and a pair of sandals, and go do my thing. And I'm going back to my truck, and this young girl, you know, in there after, church on the street, stop. I want to talk to you. You know, he goes, I saw your truck, Soulman. I saw the black robe, and and tell me about this. You know, and here's this young woman who I've never met before in my life. We're having this conversation what church on the street is. I give her a business card and invite her. If you're interested in what we're doing, you're more than welcome to drop by the church on Sunday morning. It's outside. And she actually came once. Just to see what I was up to.
Wow.
So it's just been that presence, approachable presence, and so like I said, when I park my truck in certain areas, I park in such a way so people know where I am. It's highly visible. You can't miss it, and I can be parked up, doing my own thing, having my own quiet time, drinking my own cup of coffee, just trying to relax, take 5. And I hear a horn honk, and next thing you know, a car rolls around and pulls in beside me, window comes down, we're in conversation. It's just that fast.
Wow. Got some comments coming in. Primate Linda says, thank you, Stephen. A wonderful witness of the gift of evangelism and open love to all our neighbors. Leslie says, yes, I believe authenticity is key and no agenda other than sharing the love of Jesus with others. And Astrid said, they sit at their local coffee shop after Bible study, chatting with members of the Bible study group for a couple hours. It's one way they try to get out of the building.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Yeah.
And all those things are good, like it's when we can do something. It's interesting that my congregation here at St. Stephen's has picked up on this, that orange truck has been so it has a sort of own identity on Church in the Street and the community as a missionary truck, has now been sort of locked into St. Stephen's here in Stratford as part of their ministry. They sort of adopted it now. And now they're talking now for next summer is how do we, if we can meet again, we want all of our services back outside again all summer long. Can we do a barbecue and just invite the neighborhood when we can do that safely? Can we invite some of your biker friends to come down and actually do a bike blessing in the parking lot? So through my connections, they're opening up doors for St. Stephen's to sort of to find a way how they can sort of help with this ministry, even if it's a backdoor approach.
Right. Yeah.
And God bless them for it. The fact that they're coming up with ideas, and I'm not having to push them anymore is hard. Christmas Eve, we wanted to get together Christmas Eve here at St. Stephen's for our Christmas Eve service. The congregation came up with the idea, not me, to do an outdoor service, kind of like vigil, kind of like service outside on the pines, and for the community, just to sort of watch what we're up to. But then we got shut down by the government again, so that was a kibosh. But they still want to do it next year, and you got to take credit for that. They're starting now to start thinking, how do we start making the next steps?
Yeah.
So it's all baby steps.
Yeah.
It's also about hearing, and that's what I love about kind of what you've been talking about, is that you're actually taking the time to hear what people are saying, right? We're not just going in and talking, it's hearing, and it's extraordinary.
Yeah, and that's the hard, that's most people when they go out, they have an agenda, and I learned this long time ago when I was a street preacher downtown Toronto, street pastor in Toronto, 30 odd years ago, that you come in hard and say, I want to talk to you about the Lord Jesus Christ and what he can do in your life. After you finish saying that, you better duck, because most of the guys I knew back in those days will often lock your lights out. They don't want to hear it.
Yeah,
it's true. You talk to the wrong people too fast, and you totally miss. Instead of going in and just being a part, and building those connections up, so they can trust you enough to have those conversations. Right. Openly and honestly, with nothing to hide. A lot of times we come in full force because we want to try to do something good. I think that they've got people who have the right idea but don't know how to do it. And sometimes with even some of the words they use, words that we use here in the church and phrases we use in the church don't always work well in the community. And words that we use in the community don't work well in the church, or I'll get myself in trouble. So.
But you also talked about, I mean, with biker communities, that they are actually often, giving communities themselves, and you've kind of been finding Christ in those communities.
Yeah.
Your Baba Black Sheep story, right?
Yeah.
How's that?
A couple of years ago, I was doing like a couple of groups I knew they had their big summer rallies, and I go up and I get called in to be the chaplain for the weekend. And these are secular clubs or running groups they get invited to, and these guys, I was their chaplain for over 12 years, and so I'm back home now in the south. I go to the rally, or and Sunday afternoon rolls around. It's time for church, and so you learn a long time ago you don't do early morning services at a biker rally. Early morning church for them is like 1 o'clock in the afternoon, and so there's a whack of people who came down to be a part of that, and they're all sitting there. You gotta imagine yourself outside, all the stuff, the bikes coming and going, the sound of motors back and forth. And I come walking around the corner wearing a black robe, sandals, and and started up and say, open up an word of prayer, and just said, I'm going to teach you guys a beautiful song today, a wonderful hymn. You guys already know it, but you probably don't know it as a hymn. And I started singing "Blah Blah Black Sheep," the group of to a bunch of bikers. And I got them singing along with me, and they're all up there clapping their hands, singing. I said, "So what does this song say?" Well, what's the sheep doing? The black sheep doing? It's giving, it's wool to the master, to the dame, and to the little boy. So I said, well, he's giving to God. He's also looking after the widows and the orphans. And black sheep, because how many, in our terminology, black sheep is not a nice term. It's also a black sheep of the family. It's sort of drawn upon that. I said, so how many people here, by hands up in the show, consider themselves a black sheep to their community and to their families? Well, we all put our hands up, And I said, that you are rare and you're valued. To have a black sheep, like most shepherds or people who raise sheep want black sheep because the wool's better. You don't have to dye it, and it's actually more sought after. I said to them, you guys here are, and then I turned over to the Matthew 25 story, separate the sheep and the goats. And I went there. So I said, I read the story, the gospel story to them. How many of you guys have actually done food runs, the homeless shelters? How many of you guys have taken water out on your bikes and hand out to people who are hot on a hot, thirsty on a hot day? How many of you guys have raised up clothes for the homeless shelters? How many of you guys have done? How many of you guys have done? And I said, you guys are blessed because you've done exactly what Jesus asked you to do. That's what he tells us to do. You are blessed. And I said, well, part that really pees me off, and a few other more adjective words than that you are blessed, and nobody has bothered to tell you that you are blessed.
Right.
And watching these big, burly, tattooed, and and really tough exterior break down in tears. That actually somebody took the time to say, you are blessed because you are doing exactly what Christ has called us to do.
Yeah.
And you guys don't even know you're doing it. Well done, good and faithful servants.
Yeah.
And then I left, and as I prayed, I left it at that. I said, I'm going to be over there in the shade and my chair and my cooler, drinking whatever I want to be drinking that day, and come and join me. And my buddy was with me. He lost me for 4 hours because I was busy, because people were coming out and just talking. What I mean by I was blessed. Well, I'm not a Christian. And you start unpacking that stuff, the fact that you are actually doing Christian quality stuff. So what's stopping? So what do you say? And they further found they went to church when they was kids. They spent time in Sunday school. They spent in it, So you see where it was first drawn upon years ago. They've left it alone, but yet those seeds were planted a long time ago, are now being looked at, and I would say, how do we maintain these? How do we put more fertilizer on this? How do we put more water on this? How do we get you to grow this we have inside? It may not look like you see on Sunday mornings or at church on Sunday, but for their communities, they're awesome. You know, they got it going on. They can speak stuff that even I can't speak on. And they're doing it, and they're doing that because, you know, guys like me have gone into them and said, I'm not going to crap on you because of the way you look. I'm not going to crap on you because of you got tattoos or piercings, or, you know, you have horrible vocabulary like I do. I'm not going to gun you guys for any of that kind of stuff, because God sees your heart. And you're doing stuff that, you know, sometimes some of the churches aren't even doing as much as they should be.
Yeah.
I love that, because it's not just about bringing Christ to people. You're finding Christ there all along.
Yeah, Christ is already there. Like, you know,
Yeah.
he's been planted. It's been shaken down so far, but it needs somebody to go into some of these environments and saying, I know Jesus is already here. I just got to try to find where I can find that image, where I can find that thumbprint. You know, if you take the fact that, you know, Christ as the great master molder and potter, you know, God the potter. You know, I've seen digs of old pottery where you actually see the thumbprints on old broken pieces of shards of pottery. You know, and then when they put them all back together, it's all broken, but you can still see these old thumbprints stuck in the clay. And that's what you're looking for. Even through the brokenness, I'm trying to find the thumbprint of God and Christ on that. Even through their brokenness, even through all the other crap that goes through them, even though they're putting all the pieces back together, you can still see the thumbprint of the Almighty.
Yeah.
All that work. And all the rest of that, it's just a facade.
Right. And you're pointing it out to them that they already have God in their midst, like Christ has already blessed them.
Yeah, it was like, you know, I don't have to go to church on a Sunday morning. You're absolutely right. He goes, and I got one of my friends goes, okay, Soulman, it's like this. Okay. God made, okay, who made, we're walking by a church one day, we're riding by a church, you stop. Who built that? Man. Well, right. So you go for a drive further down the road, we come to this beautiful scenic area, nice little pond, lake area kind of place, all nicely bushed and flowers growing. Who made that? God. Why do I worship the place that man made when I go there and worship the place that God made? We take it.
Yeah.
But that's where they find their solace. That's where they find it, you know, because they know they can meet God there without judgment, because they know that when they come into a place that man made, you know, there's sort of, even I've gone as a guest speaker in my biker attire, you know, people who have never met me before. I come walking in, I sit down somewhere and I watch so many people move their purses out of the way, you know, because big biker guy in here, we're going to move our purse, we're going to clutch it, we're going to move our stuff for the road, because we don't really trust this guy the way he looks until they get to know you, right? And so that's what happens. We make that assumption of who people are by their looks, instead of saying, taking the time to get to know them. What's behind that? What's behind that facade? They read that facade for a reason. That's their armor. They keep people away. But once you get that, and start having those conversations and actually having dialogue, and knowing them as a person, not just a thing, not just a sexual worker, not just a biker, not just a lawyer, not just whatever, but you actually see them as Christ sees them, and God sees them, made in my own image. Isn't that what we say? You know, love the Lord your God with all your heart, soul, and mind, love your neighbors yourself. Who's your neighbor? Yeah. These are our neighbors, and they're all made in His image. There ends the gospel lesson.
Thank you very much. Steve Green comments, Soulman. Right. How'd you get the name Soulman?
And this is the kind of this is exactly, hey, Stever. You know, and it's like, but and this is how the conversations go. We sit down like this, like we're having this conversation right now online with people in the background watching. And that's exactly, a bunch of us are all sitting around talking, and we had these conversations come up. You know, I was at a funeral last year, celebration of life, and you know, everybody goes off in the parking lot, you know, because they're not serving alcohol beverages inside, so they all have them in their vehicles. right or wrong, that's between them and their Holy Father to figure out, not me. And so I come walking out, outside. They're all hanging out there, the trucks and stuff, and all these different biker groups are there. And it was right before Super Bowl weekend coming up. So I'm talking about football. Like, hey, who you guys rooting for? You guys having some pool parties, blah, blah, blah. Next thing we got talking about this whole, when a person dies, what really happens? Is there a heaven? Does God call anybody? And one of the guys there's a hard hitting a bike club guy, 1% biker. He goes, Soulman, how come I realize that every time you show up, you start talking about spirituality and religion? I go, how come every time I show up, you guys bring it up, not me? I was talking about the football game. You guys brought this up. This is on you. So whatever you guys get stuck with when it comes out of my mouth, it's on you. You guys have brought it up to me. So, but it engages that conversation, and people are watching that you have people in the background watching this and hearing this. There's other people like that who are watching and hearing that conversation too. Right. When you're in the public. And they'll come up later on down the road and ask me some of the same questions again. But they can't ask that if we're not there.
This is it.
You can't have those conversations if you're not there.
Mm-hmm. Good point.
I couldn't do a baptism. I couldn't do a communion in a park, and stuck in the side of a Highway 7 and 8 last summer if I wasn't there.
Right.
It's opportunity ministry. Sometimes you go out, you do get, it's like a fish. Like I said, when Jesus called the fishermen, some days they went out, their catch was great. Sometimes they went out, they got nothing. But if you don't go out, you're gonna get it's the real deal. You're not gonna get anything happening. You have to go out and you have to take it all as it comes. Whether the storm, take whatever you get given. It could be a slow day, it could be a busy day. I never know from one day to the next. And it's hard for trying to train people to do this because there's a lot more quiet days than there are busy days. They were like, what are we doing this for? If we're not here, we're not here.
Well, that's fishing, isn't it?
So what do you do when someone wants to get baptized? Sorry, you got some baptism. Your approach to baptism is different from some.
Yes, baptism for me is a bit unorthodox in the Anglican tradition. It happens spontaneously, and like I know when the same day you had the photograph of me taking the primate for a motorcycle ride, a buddy of mine came with me, and this guy he has come out of the 1% lifestyle. He was a heavy hitter inside the organization. He was a president and vice president nationally and internationally. So this guy has some serious power to him, and I've been hanging out with him at his shop quite a bit. And he started asking me, I want to know more about this Jesus character, because there's going to be something more than life than this, the way I'm living. And so we started having that conversation, going through the Gospels, talking about who Jesus is and what he means. And so anyways, he goes, I want Jesus in my life. So we took him. So my buddy of mine came down. We took him out the side. We had a coffee with him, and we actually, went through the whole scenario with him. Just ask God in your heart. Give up your past. Let it go. Whatever you've done, you've done. Give it over to Jesus and let Him take it over. And exactly what he did. So that was the beginning of this last summer. So I worked with them all last summer, and then I went down to the Huron-Church camp for the final Sunday. And our primate was there, and so we sat there to the kids' service. He got a kick out of it, and so I watched him say the Apostles' Creed, word for word. I heard him say it. So after we're all sitting down, everybody's breaking off, and we're just getting ready for the bishop to finish off, but she needed to take her for a ride. So I sat with him. I was like, "You read that piece? I read it again. Do you actually believe all that?" Yes, I do. You want to get baptized? Yes, I do. Well, you know what? There's a lake right there. So we ended up going down afterwards, took the bishop for a ride. We contacted his wife and some friends of his, and they met us at down at the Huron Church camp. We walked down the beach, and we weren't. It wasn't planned, because I would have brought a spare pair of pants, for the ride home. And we walked into Huron, Lake Huron, and baptized right to the shores. Had to ride back. His wife started calling us the Soggy Bottom Boys, because both of us were soaking wet going down the highway. Didn't quite think that went through hard enough, but and some people give me a hard time for it, but you take it again. I take it from the scriptures. When I see Philip meeting the eunuch on the road, asking the question, "What does this mean? Do you believe in what this is saying?" Yes. What are you gonna do? There's water right there. Let's go get baptized.
Right.
I don't always get a second chance around. Somebody asked me for that question.
Right.
And so the discipleship and baptism and all the education that we would usually do for baptism happens after fact.
Yeah.
So I just going back down afterwards and having coffee. So how are you feeling? What you've done here is what, is this, how is that changing? How is that going to change your world?
Well, and ultimately Christian formation doesn't happen all before baptism. It's lifelong.
That's right.
So yeah, we're all growing all the time. So yeah. And I like what you said about this is an opportunity you don't want to miss. I mean, this guy, I'm not sure people know what a 1%er is. Maybe you can unpack that a little bit for us, Stephen. But I mean, this is pretty unlikely. This guy's going to come to a church to be baptized.
Yeah, a 1%er is we talked about the motorcycle realm. A 1%er, you're talking about the guys who are actually in the big clubs. The ones you read about in the papers.
Outlaws.
These guys.
Outlaws? Would you call them outlaw bikers?
Yes and no. I wouldn't want to say that because that is an actual name of an actual 1% organization.
Okay.
But yeah, they are the guys you think about. You can tell them a mile away because they actually have the 1% diamond on them. They got motorcycle club, and these guys mean business.
Right.
Like I said to you guys yesterday, when he came out, he got baptized last year. It took him a while to come out of that lifestyle.
Yes.
And we were having that conversation. I don't doesn't want that lifestyle anymore. It's dragging him down the rabbit hole. He's stressed out all the time, and so he wanted to give it up. And so he actually, we actually paid his out. I helped pay his out fee. Because you have to pay to get out.
Okay.
And I helped raise his out money, and that ticked off a bunch of people. The fact that he got out, and they put his group, they put death threats out. And so, like I said to you guys yesterday, for a month and a half last summer, I was walking around the Kevlar vest in the area because it was a real deal. I actually phoned up my bishop and said, Bishop Todd, I just wanted to know that here's a scenario, and he goes, we don't have a policy for that.
Where's the safe for church policy on that?
Yeah, safe church policy is out the way. Got it. And he was nervous for me. I said, if you think about on a scale of 1 to 10 about danger level with some of the stuff, where 1 is everything's hunky-dory, 10 is like I gotta go underground. I was sitting at a 3. I said when I was working downtown Toronto as a street pastor, there was times when I was at 8 and 9 because I didn't know what was going to happen next. You go doing ministry to somebody who's got mental health issues, who are strung out on street medication, not their doctor medical stuff. Things go awry real fast, and so things were a lot more dangerous on the street because you didn't know what was going to happen. This one I knew was coming, and I could prepare for it. Nothing came from it. There were some talks that we had to have and some parlays and get things calmed down again. It was rough going for a while, but once you're in, once you get involved in this stuff, and they watch what happens next. At the end of the day, we got him out. All this stuff was going down. He was doing his. He wanted to do a wedding, redoing his vows with him and his wife. And at the end of the day, the only thing that was left in his corner was myself, one of my other friends of mine in the area, he's a businessman who has a B&B in the area, and his wife and a few close friends and family members were there. His pretty outspoken the fact that the only thing he had in his back up there was a minister. These two walked out Christians, and one of them happens to be a minister.
Yeah.
You know, who were there for him, and that meant something for him. You know, and so now all he wants to do is, you know, work as a mechanic, the way he does best, and learn how to do the ministry I do. You know, he wants to become a missionary. You know, who knew?
Fantastic. Linda, Prime Linda says, well, it was just as dangerous for Jesus.
Amen to that.
Yeah, and she also says, it was a great ride and a joy to bless the bikes before the baptism. So a couple other things I'm aware at the time. We could go on for another whole hour, I think, but we're running out of time. Leslie says, your ministry is sacramental to me, and that you're helping folks to recognize the outward and visible sign of inward grace and community, and to help people see God already amongst them. And Robin says he has seen and heard Reverend Stephen speak. I've watched the reaction of people who see the leathers and patches before they see the person. Then the look of shock when Reverend Stephen gets up to speak. Many eyes and hearts are opened after Reverend Stephen gets done speaking.
Thank you.
So, yeah, really good
well
comments.
done.
One last thing before we go. So we only have 8 minutes before 2 o'clock. But, you know, so what would you say to the local church? What can they take away from this?
Well, I think it's just go beyond your doors. I'm not asking anybody to do exactly what I do, but take a look what's around you in your area. You know, if you can do some of your stuff outside, God bless you, do it. If you have the space, you know, be present in the community. You know, you know, Jesus, even in our baptismal covenant we have a responsibility for our community. You know, my community is a bit different, but you know, you guys know your own communities. You know, so if you're a grandparent, you know, look after that group. You know, if you're an elder of the church, you know, look after your community. You got wisdom there. If you know you have your own communities that you hang out in, be that person, you know, of Christ in those communities. Be that light in those dark areas. Be the one that can actually have that conversation with. It doesn't always have to be formal. It doesn't always have to have all the right words. You know, we know the basics. You know, the gospel are the basics. You know, we know those. You know, it's just to be a part of it. You know, and not be afraid of it. You know, because you hear the word evangelism in the Anglican Church, and everybody ducks for cover. You know, I bring that word up. You know, it'd probably be easier for me to drop the F-bomb than sometimes the evangelism word, because I said, you know, that word has been so twisted over eons of ministry, but they actually go out and actually not just to preach the good news, but be the good news. Live your life. Don't just preach it, but live your life according to what you believe. That's what we're asking. That's what I'm asking of my crew, is just live that life the best you can. The words will come, you know, the right words will come at the right time, but just be there in the present, in the moment, you know. And yeah, it's not hard. People think it's hard to do because, you know, yeah, I work in a much more involved territory. But you got neighbors who live on the left and right of you.
Right.
You that focal point, the people you go sit and have coffee with, you know, the people you hang out with on the street, the, you know, golf courses, wherever your niche is, be the presence of Christ in that niche, and don't be embarrassed by it. Don't be ashamed of it. You know, we have this fear that when we bring up Jesus, everyone's going to walk away from us. You know, but I'm actually finding the opposite. People are actually coming because even the ones who have fallen into the Eastern religion idea or kind of material are coming back now to the gospel. It left them hanging. They want something more personal. What they want is a relationship. They want to belong to the family. They want to belong to the kingdom. They want to belong to something. just like my church on Sunday mornings, what they miss most right now is during COVID, is the gospel and the good news being preached and their community. And that's exactly what my people are looking for, is to hear the good news being preached and that they're a part of it. And there's a community there for them.
Right
Doesn't matter where, doesn't matter if you know who you are, that is central into the kingdom of Christ. To belong to something, belong to a community, belong into the royal family.
Yeah.
No matter what their backgrounds are.
Right on. Well, Stephen, this has been an amazing time together today. Just wonderful words of inspiration and encouragement for us. No matter where we are, the circles we have, for our neighbors and social groups and that kind of thing, really inspiring. So thank you so much for sharing your stories today and just giving us some ideas about how missional ministry and what it might look like beyond the pew.
Yes, Irene says, thank you so much, Rev Steve. That's powerful and important message.
Thank you.
Leslie says, what a gift you are to the communities you serve. Thank you for sharing your ministry with us today. This has been Pew and Beyond. Robin also says, thank you. Great message and inspiration. So you've inspired a lot of us, Stephen. Thank you so much.
Anytime.
And thank you, everybody, for joining us on Pew and Beyond. Who are we, Lisa? We are
Pew and Beyond. It's an initiative of the Spiritual Formation for Discipleship Network of the Anglican Church of Canada. And next week, we have two guests from Outflow, a social enterprise out of St. John, New Brunswick.
I am so excited. That is going to be really interesting. So I hope we can talk again, Stephen. I'm really glad we were friends.
Not a problem. Anytime.
So thank you all for joining us. Thank you for your comments and questions, and keep the conversation going. Just keep throwing those comments in. Let's keep talking. And meanwhile, everyone, God bless. Have a great week. And we'll be here this time, same place, same time for Pew and Beyond. Bye.